Welcome to Detecting Intelligence, the only show that treats AI like a crime scene. We bag the evidence, dust the hype for fingerprints, and interrogate the breakthroughs. Then we ask the only question that matters. Are we closer to AGI? Let's find out. Here are your hosts, Frank and Ronnie.
GM, Ronnie, how are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing okay, and we are cutting this down to the wire. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great. Yeah,
literally
scrambled here this morning,
and I'm still not ready. So I'm gonna get ready on the show. But yes, sir, GM, my friend, and welcome to Detecting Intelligence, folks. Yeah, what's today? Wednesday. It's New Comic Book Day. I haven't checked to see what comics are dropping. So, you know, for those that are watching or listening back to this, yes, I'm very much the comic nerd. Although I kind of just hurt my credibility there by saying I don't know what books are dropping this week. But it is New Comic Book Day, and I will be checking to see what books did drop this week. So, and see if I need to hit my local comic shop today. But anywho. Yes, this is Detecting Intelligence, isn't it? I am Ronnie, aka Dr. Moonhattan, and I'm joined by my lovely friend in white here, Frank Zuring. How you doing, Frank?
Doing great this morning, Ronnie. Good to see you, and yeah, excited to get into the news today. We got a couple of things that we've been kind of talking about that look like are pretty relevant in regards to where the main news is at these days, which is all around security.
Let's get into it. Okay.
Sounds great.
Like I said, I'm not ready. I mean, I did prepare. I'm just aesthetically, I wasn't ready. But yeah. Because I'm so vain. All right, I have it loaded. Let's start. We're going to start with, where are you? Here we go. Bring it up on stage here. Let me open this up a little bit more.
Awesome. That's great.
Even though that doesn't. Okay. Anywho. All right. So, it's a story by OpenAI. AI is getting powerful enough to break systems. So now the question is, who gets access to the power? So OpenAI just dropped this new, what is it? So they're upscaling their Trusted Access for Cyber, TAC, their TAC program. So essentially what they're outlining is a framework for giving select organizations controlled access to advanced AI capabilities for cybersecurity. And the goal is to help defenders use AI to defend vulnerabilities before attackers do, while tightly restricting access to prevent misuse. So if you ask me, and I think it's kind of obvious if you're paying attention, that this is, you could argue that this is a response to Anthropic's Project Mythos, which has come out and made the big claim that it is more or less designed to seek out and find bugs in our systems, and it's very much done that. When I'm talking about Project Mythos now, I mean, we've seen that thing, we've seen it go out and find vulnerabilities that are decades old, and these are holes and bugs in the things that we use every day, like our operating systems and our web browsers and things like that, which is why Anthropic hasn't released it to the public. You know, right now it's in the hands of the digital NATO. So I think it's fair. That's a fair statement to make. But yeah, it's all, and we've seen this pattern before. It's just, you know, somebody, you know, one of these OpenAI companies drops a new tool or a new update, and then, you know, and then the other 2 and 3 follow suit, and they come up with their own iteration and update. But anywho, let me stop talking. Frank, give me your 2 cents on this latest development with OpenAI.
Yeah, I think your last point is bang on. You know, we always seem to see one company kind of riff off of the other company's news or releases. And, you know, I can understand it from a marketing perspective because this is where the attention is right now. So it makes sense that you want to chime in with your stance on that attention. Very similar to also, I think, the way at least I noticed the movie studios worked in the past, where it always seemed like you had one type of movie come out, and then shortly after a similar style or themed movie come out from another studio. It just seemed to be kind of the way. Like I remember one specifically, like Volcano and Dante's Peak. You know, you had like these two movies kind of coming around at the same time. Not to date myself there a little bit too much, but yeah, I think here there's a couple of things that are interesting in this news story. So, you know, clearly, OpenAI, as you said, is just trying to share their stance on security and why it's such a big thing, and we should all be concerned about it. They are forming, you know, essentially these levels of access that, depending on, you know, the trust factors, I guess you could say, that they deem, you know, themselves, which I would love to know what is that trust factor.
Right.
You know, they'll then give access to these models. It also seemed, at least my interpretation as I read through it a little bit further, that they also plan to have this, you know, kind of scale through different releases of models. So instead of it just being the new and the latest models that are out, it seemed to me like they were going to potentially have a way to look at regular people, excuse me, being able to access these tools. And I may have misinterpreted that, but that's how I kind of read it, was that they need to have an understanding of the individuals that are also using these tools, and before they give access, and then gave an example of how they released codecs and these types of things.
Yeah, dude. No, that's a, you know, I just want, great point that you made just there. Yeah, it's having you know, getting a better sense of who it is, the types of people that we're giving this giving access to. But no, but continue.
Yeah, so I find that interesting, concerning as well too, because you know, you never know then if there's going to be some form of screening that maybe is a little too favorable for those that have deeper pockets than those that don't have, you know, the ability to subscribe to some of these top models. So yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays out. I think it's definitely just a reaction to Anthropic's Mythos news that's been circulating around. Yeah, we're interested to see if they actually do have a model that is on par with Mythos, as far as we know, too, because we still don't really know what Mythos is really capable of, other than what we're being told it's capable of.
And dude, like I know, so I know there's a lot of focus right now on how to protect ourselves from potential attacks, but I have no idea. And my question is, are we preparing for the hypothetical and potential aftermath if if a horrible event were to happen? Now the thing is, I guess you have to, in order to prepare for something like that, you have to, I guess, know, the event would have to actually happen, not in real life necessarily, but you know, you can't plan for everything, is what I'm trying to say. You can't prepare for every possible, you know, scenario, because it's, I guess, to a certain extent, in a sense, there's limitless scenarios that can occur when we're talking about, you know, cybersecurity. But I just don't really hear a lot of chatter on, like, what's the protocol if, like, let's say the grid were to go down, or all of our bank accounts were frozen, you know, things like that. I don't hear a lot about that. So I don't know if that's cause for concern. But just now, personally, me thinking about it, I'm like, okay, because I don't know what to do. So yeah. Anyway.
I do find it interesting that these tools are capable of finding, you know, potential backdoors, essentially, into the platforms that, you know, even as you said, may have existed for years and just nobody has been able to spot them yet.
Right.
Because code, you know, especially the old way of doing code, it's very messy. You know, I think I've only seen a couple of coders or programmers, as they sometimes are referred to, as like having actually organized their code in a fashion that it's like easily accessible for another coder or programmer. And that was things of like creating like markups within the actual like sheets of code, so that, you know, it labels like this section is this section is this, and those are only notes meant for other coders and programmers. And I think, you know, that's probably, now we're going to see even less of that, because I would imagine if you're a human and you're coding and programming and your livelihood is dependent on being able to have that, way to earn income, just like we talked about yesterday with like Gen Z sabotaging some of these AI initiatives. Big coders are probably thinking the same. It's like, I'm not going to give away my code here. I'm going to make this messy, so then that way it's not as easy. And you've seen probably on X and some of these other platforms these memes where it's like AI adoption is like this bus coming through, and then this train smashes the bus, and it's like this is like Steve's Excel file from like 10 years ago. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. So yeah, I don't know. It's creating a real divide. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. Damn, and I had a thought that I wanted to share to add here, and I lost it again because you made a joke. Anywho, all right, let's if it comes back on my now I remember. Let's take this moment to, since we're talking about security, let's just take a moment to remind folks in this new world that we live in, you might want to set up a like a password with your friends and family so you don't get scammed. And also, when it comes to two-step, Frank, what's your workflow, for lack of a better word? Because mine is, I remember learning, a couple of years ago or whenever it was, that when it comes to two-factor authentication, to not use your cell phone number or a text, that it's best to use a 2FA app, authenticator app. So if you are going to go the two-factor authentication route with your apps and services, and that's what I do. I have like about 3 or 4 or 5 different ones on my phone. But I think the main one that I use, I don't even know if I should say, but I I just use the Google one, because Google has their own authenticator. So that's the one that I use. What do you use?
Yeah, I'm the same. I use the authenticator apps. I do sometimes use my mobile number as like an alternative or a fallback. And then I do have some default email addresses that I also use as a third fallback. So authenticator is, certainly where I lead as well too. I think it's the best technology right now. But in the event that I, need to fall back to something, I usually do still default to myself.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, anyways, folks, yes, but always, DYOR, do your own research. But now the methods are, now hackers are welcome to come for us as well. So, but anyways, but those are the security apps and what have you that Frank and I use. So there you go. All right. Let's get the next story up, and it's kind of in the same vein, because AR agents are starting to act on your behalf, and now companies are racing to secure them before they go rogue.
Yeah.
So Palo Alto Networks acquired Koi to strengthen security around agentic endpoints, systems where AI agents operate independently, make decisions, and interact with data. This move is about protecting a future where AI isn't just software, it's an active participant inside systems, and again, acting on your behalf. Frank, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is really the question of this generation, I think, in my opinion, is the orchestration of all of these tools and how they operate within businesses, especially. We're still figuring it out. And, a big part of what I'm doing, even with my own company, is working with a select few businesses to figure this out as well, too. I think there's going to be a few things that break, unfortunately. And I think what this company is trying to do here with Koi is, try to prevent how much damage they can do, which makes sense, just to put some gates in place. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it all kind of comes out in the end, because if we start talking about these models like we just were with Mythos, and the ability to like find things that other people aren't thinking about, if AI isn't designing these systems, which it wasn't evident in this article to me, then I wonder how practical it actually is.
Yeah, and like you said, like something's going to break. The question is what's going to break and how severe of a break, and in what aspect is it going to break. But so in that scenario, in your opinion, of course, who is responsible? The company, the developer, or the AI itself?
Yeah, that's a tough question, man. So I think it's a bit of two parties that would be responsible. I think the way I'm looking at it is the developer or the provider of AI should have some responsibility because they're the ones obviously putting these systems in place. But then businesses need to also have some responsibility and do, in many ways, because they're also, an enabling function within their business. And as a business, if you make decisions, ultimately, they're going to fall back on you as the one who is responsible, or depending on your corporate structure, fall
and
back
quick
on the corporate.
recall, we talked about it on the show the other day. OpenAI is actively trying to pass legislation that absolves them from anything like this.
Yeah.
If absolve is the right word, I don't know. I'm trying to be fancy once in a while.
I think the best thing we can do is just try to mitigate the damage that these things can do. But I think we got to go into it with all eyes open and monitoring very closely, because I don't think the answer is to wait until it's perfect either. Because if you're going to wait until these problems are resolved, then you're going to be way behind, in my opinion. So I think you want to be running these experiments in your own business now. You want to be figuring out how you can utilize these tools, and just keep it minimal impact to start until you're confident or you're comfortable that it's not going to do anything drastic. It's the same as working with a new employee, though, too, in many ways, right? Like, a new employee has the ability to totally tank your company if they wanted to.
True. Well, but hold on. A new employee, though, can be held accountable.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point to make. So yeah, I think developers need to be held accountable as well too.
Yeah.
For this, for sure.
Because we're kind of there, dude, but we're entering a world where the biggest security risk is now your own AI, and these companies are really trying to be the first thing that you touch when you go online. They're trying to, I forgot who put in it, but it was a great way to put it. Like, they're trying to replace the keyboard. So think about that. Like, they want to be that first thing you touch, like that they want to be your portal to the internet. That is worth the planet to them. So that's the point where it needs to be secured. And that's a huge responsibility, ability. It's super complicated. And we talk a lot of crap, or at least I do, about these people, but somebody has to tackle these problems, and these are the people doing it. And they're humans, they are flawed in many ways. So yeah, like, to your point again, we have to keep a close eye on this stuff, but we also, as importantly, we have to do our best to try and, keep these people responsible, and if necessary, hold them accountable, because this is our lives that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I don't think we should be afraid to experiment with our businesses as well too, because I think the potential upside to these tools going well is far more beneficial than any potential risk that they pose to your business. At the end of the day, if you're putting in workflows and structure that, as they say, air gap between, things that are very sensitive in your business, such as accessing your bank account, or maybe completing a financial transaction or a contract with a client, those are things that you still would want to, maintain control over. But, I know a lot of companies are even getting held up right now on whether or not they should allow AI to send emails on their behalf. And I think that's such a simple task that, like, what is that risk that you stand to have if it goes wrong? And if you just look at it, yeah, there's some risk, but it's not like going to kill our company. Then go for it. Because, imagine if everybody in the 90s said, we're going to wait on this internet thing until it's like totally safe and operating, completely fine, and there's no issue. I don't think we're even there yet with the internet. so yeah, there's risks, but I think, if you're in business, you got to take some risks to make it, and Just one final thought, which was interesting. I saw shared on social media last night by Peter Levels, who's a fairly predominant name in the tech space. He said his belief is that every business is at risk right now, especially the small niche businesses, because this is where the large corporations now have the ability to get into because they can customize their service
And eat you.
where particular, in the past has been kind of a very profitable space for niche businesses because they're too small for a large corporation to get after, but big enough that you can build a real business there. And it's his belief that the big corporations are coming after that business because it's their easiest path to growth.
Mhm.
And if they don't, they feel their competitors will. So, I mean, everything
And
is changing.
we have all the history in the world to show that that's what they've been doing.
Yeah.
But now they just have a new tool to do that.
Yeah.
More efficiently and easier. I mean, yeah. I mean, you thought they were sharks before. They just became like megalodons.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
On a lighter note,
Is it a
Google
lighter?
add yeah, there is a lighter note, I think. Google adds AI skills to Chrome to help save favorite workflows. All right. So real quick, so they're adding AI powered skills, so allowing users to save and reuse workflows, essentially turning repeated actions into automated intelligent processes inside the browser. I think what's really interesting about this is that I'm sure Google Chrome is widely used. I don't know by how many millions or billions of people. It's probably not the billions. But anyways, in order to, I guess, activate these skills, it's you do it with the forward slash. And the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like 99% of the planet is not used to doing that sort of thing. But if you're in the tech world, in the coding world, you're very comfortable with that action. So I think and it probably has nothing to do with this, but I think it's just very interesting where the average Joe and Jane are now going to become accustomed, if they want to implement this sort of thing and kind of have fun with this and make their lives a little bit easier on the internet as they browse things, getting them accustomed to kind of like that terminal like function is interesting. Probably means nothing. I don't know. It's just something that entered my mind when I started reading up on this. But anyways, no, I think it's really cool. I mean, your browser is not just a thing you use to get on the internet anymore. It's like, it's like a tool. It's like becoming like an operator now. Yeah, man, this is the new world. This is the new AI world. It's interesting. What do you, did you try this out yet?
So I haven't tried it out yet, but I kind of look at it a little bit more from a lens of a little bit more concerning, actually.
More concerning. I mean, okay, yeah.
And the only reason being is there was the whole change with Google Chrome around its cookie policy that happened last year. I don't know if you remember that. But now
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So with Chrome, and I'm a Chrome user. Okay. So I'll just start by
Same.
saying that, I still use the tool, even though I don't fully agree with it, but it is one of the better tools.
I've been using Chrome for however long until I kind of switched over to Atlas for a little bit, but I still go back and forth. But anyway.
Yeah. And so I think the biggest thing here is that the way that it collects data is a little bit more covered, in a sense that we don't really have full access to all the data it's collecting. And it is now through the terms that they updated in the cookie policy, it's able to track you and where you visit across multiple devices and for longer. So they've kind of already changed their terms and use that really have given them the ability to collect a lot of data. But I think most people, or the average person, is quite okay with it because, unfortunately, in my opinion, people don't value their data as much as they probably should because it's one of those things that the convenience factor is, far outweighs what the potential belief is that the value of that data is. And I don't think the data is valuable or that valuable as for the individual. Like, so for you and I to Google, there's no way that they would ever, want to pay us like $50 a month for all of our data. Like there's never been like that specific price tag put on an individual's data. But when you look at it as a whole across many, many users, it becomes quite valuable. And now adding a layer on top of it for AI skills, to me, kind of signals, are we going to be doing more AI training with all this data and everything that we're doing with Google? And I'm sure we are. We already are with the other platforms. I'm not completely naive that that's not happening. But yeah, it just kind of, again, signals to me that there's a lot of gathering happening from these large companies right now that, do we want that much knowledge in these individual tech companies? So I don't know. I'm just, my alarms start going off when I see this.
Yeah, I just came across. Reminded of this. I think there's a supermarket chain called Wegmans, a grocery food chain store. Never heard of it. Never even seen one. But they exist in New York City somewhere, and they are tracking their customers. They're scanning their customers' faces.
Yeah.
That enter their stores. I didn't see for what purpose, because I was like, all right, well, I don't, I bring that up, one, because it's interesting, for many reasons, but also because I think we're all kind of numb to this stuff. We don't care about our data. We've never gotten a penny for it, and none of us are expecting to ever see a penny for it. So we kind of just don't care. I mean, because we realize we exist online on the internet. We interact in various ways on the internet, and we buy things, we sell things, whatever. So yeah, I think we're all just kind of have gotten accustomed to all of our stuff exists on the internet, and I think it's even mainstream now that people are kind of aware, even though it's never really been confirmed. There's just been really a lot of coincidences of where it feels like our devices are listening to us and then trying to sell us things that we've just mentioned out loud or haven't even searched on the internet, but we're already getting ads to purchase or do such things. Yeah, I mean, almost everyone I know has mentioned, has said something to that effect. So anyway, yeah, dude, we're just numb to this stuff. It's sad. It's sad, but I'm afraid that's just the situation at hand. What do you got here?
Yeah, no, I think this is a good thing just to end on. So actually, one of our political parties here in Canada decided to take a stance on what he was claiming as surveillance pricing, and that his belief is that depending on how needy you are for a solution, and he put it as like care for a parent with cancer, that you're going to pay more because your need is higher. And he's on this platform for banning surveillance pricing. I think he took it to a kind of another level, because this is the problem with our government and with any government, is there's a real gap in the understanding of how technology actually works and what like is happening. And that's where we get like into these, crazy scenarios where they just can't do anything because their belief of how a system works is just not accurate. And his belief is that, those little price tags, those digital price tags you see on the store shelves that have like the price, their only mechanism is to update the price like easily for the operator so they can like enter the price. But his belief, and when he pitched in his presentation, was that they're connecting to your phone and looking at your data and then changing the price depending on your phone. And like, that is not happening. And the comments on social around that was hilarious. Like, one guy even went as far as saying, "Oh, I was wondering why toilet paper cost me $100 when I really needed to go to the bathroom."
What?
And it's just like the gap of like understanding of how these things work is unfortunately not working in our favor right now.
So I'm vaguely familiar with this name, Avi Lewis. Obviously, I don't follow Canadian politics because my own government's politics is driving me psychotic. So who is this person?
So he is the newly elected leader of the NDP party, which is the New Democratic Party here.
That's what I wanted to know, if this was a what political party this person belonged to. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. You should watch the press conference if you get a moment. It's only like 12 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
But it completely separated from reality, unfortunately. Nice enough guy, and he's got quite like the legacy from his family having been in this party for a long time, but completely disconnected from where tech actually is these days.
Well, let me give a quick shout out to David Dole. He's a content creator from Canada that covers U.S. politics a lot, but he's a progressive, democratic socialist, all that stuff. He's a Bernie bro. He just happens to live in Canada, and he covers a lot of U.S. politics. But I agree with, I'd say, I agree with like 99% of the stuff that he says. But anyways, but I know he has, I'm sure he has a piece about this on his channel. So anyways, but yeah, for those watching, if you're interested, I recommend his channel. If you're interested in getting some political commentary, he's the his channel is the Rational National on YouTube. So
nice.
Go check him out. Go check him out and give him a sub. And on that note,
good job, man.
He's late, and we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Catch us at 9 and 9 a.m. tomorrow. Adios.
Today's evidence is logged. The timeline has been updated, and the future remains under investigation. If you found this useful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next analysis. You can also drop your questions in the comments. We read them, we use them, we investigate them. And for deeper dives, join the newsletter at detectingintelligence.com. Thanks for watching. See you next time, friend.